All right, good evening. Welcome to the May 8th, 2024 meeting of the Gorham School Committee. If we could please have everybody stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mrs. Warren. Could we please have the roll call?
Sanctus?
Here.
Michelle Littlefield?
Here.
Stuart McAllister?
Here.
Sarah Perkins? Ann Schools?
Here.
Jennifer Whitehead?
Here.
Nicole Yeo Fisher?
Here.
All right. Can I please get a motion for approval of minutes of the regular meeting of April 10th and special meeting of April 24th, 2024?
I make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of April 10th and the special meeting minutes of April 24th, 2024 as presented. Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? All right. All those in favor? 6 yeas. All right, moving on to administrative reports. Any comments or questions on the principal program administrative reports? As always, thank you to our administrators for putting those together. Those reports are available on our website and gives you a little bit of an inside peek as to what's going on in our schools. So we'll move on to the program review for the collaborative alternate learning opportunities. We're going to postpone that one to our next May workshop. So we'll move on to item 2.3, which is the program review of the school nutrition program with the school nutrition program director, Michael Sanborn.
Right. Well, I'll ask Mr. Sanborn to come up and get his presentation ready. Mr. Sanborn is a long-serving member and director of school nutrition program services here in the Gorham schools, and I'm sure he has a lot of great information. He loves his data, so you're in for a treat.
I do.
Go ahead, Michael.
I do. I just found out that I've got to use an Apple, so bear with me if I have any problems tonight. I want to go through a little historical information for two reasons tonight. The first being, this is the first time that the school board, complete school board, hasn't been here when I arrived in 2008. And the second reason is that I will be retiring very, very soon, and this will be my last report to this board. So I wanted to give a historical perspective on the operation since 2008. Bear with me. Okay.
Yeah, look at that. Nice job.
Good. Okay. August 2008, we had a loss of $179,000. For the program as a whole, we were in the hole $244,000. We just went through the auditors not being able to audit the operation for the fiscal year 07-08. And on top of that, we had a reduction of force of 33%. 1/3 of the staff had been let go. Welcome to Gorham. The first day that I met with staff, the staff they were here, obviously were very anxious, didn't really know what to expect, didn't know how to perform the jobs with 1/3 less people. And I'm sure I looked like a deer in the headlights and came up with the best answer I could and told them, do whatever you did the last day of school. The operation had really taken a quick turn because of the people that we did have at that time. They were very, very open-minded towards change, and through it together, we were able to reduce the loss of 170-some thousand to breaking even in the first year. I've never been with a program that has turned things around as fast as they have. These reports that I'm going to show you, I'll give you a little explanation, and I've consolidated these slides to give you an overview system-wide. School committee, I do believe you got individual school information as well, but I thought to save time tonight, I would just give an overview system-wide. What you see in front of you are annual participation rates per day, average daily participation. You can see the last 3 years, we've grown immensely. Mainly because the state of Maine now reimburses us full reimbursement amount for all 3 categories. The paid meals, the reduced meals, and the free meals. Even though you only see 4% increase for this year for lunch, we increased 12% last year, and the year before that increased another 22%. So the progression over the last 3 years has been about 45 to 50% increase. One of the things that we've been concerned about, or the principal has been concerned about, is feeding that many more students takes time. And I'll get into it a little more into the presentation, but that was a factor that we really had to take in consideration. We didn't want to have to impact any of the classrooms coming in early, coming in later, dragging it out. We really wanted to find a solution to try to feed all of the students within the time frame that we were given. I also add some of these pictures of our staff and students. I won't stop too long on them, but I might on some. Narragansett continues to grow. It will grow next year, we all know that. We've also started working on adjustment of staffing at Great Falls and Village as well. The number keeps on moving. I think the last number I heard was 65, 70. Tools of the trade. I haven't mentioned the breakfast program. I can't believe how many students we're feeding breakfast. It's crazy. I see it as, especially K-5, the students or the parents see it as a real easy solution to getting the kids out the door. One less thing they have to worry about. The breakfast that K-5 offer, they have several choices to choose from. We did a little pilot study program at Narragansett this year where we invited parents in for breakfast. That was interesting. That was actually the kids really enjoyed it, and the teachers did too. I got an idea that probably will continue. One of our students at Narragansett. What?
Village.
Village? My bad. That's not Narragansett?
She could be calling Narragansett.
This is our staff from Great Falls. Increase at the middle school. You look at the increase from this year to 3 years ago. They have tripled participation. Trying to get those middle kids through the lunch lines is a task, isn't it, Quentin? We've started the year out taking an average of 12 minutes per lunch period to get students through. We're now down to 8. Try that at home. Great Falls continues to grow. Again, look at breakfast. 50% increase over the last year. The managers at K-5 have come up with some creative ways to increase participation. None of them the same. Each individual has their own views and ways that they do it, but as long as I continue to see these numbers, they don't hear from me. I'd like to spend a couple of minutes on this slide. It has created some anxiety over the last few years, but it's smoothed out. Back when we were in COVID, one of the things that we were concerned about is having students have contact with the accountability system that we had. We have a pin pad. At the middle school, the cashier and pin pads on both sides. K-5 schools have just a pin pad on one side. And the way that we recognize a student is the student would put in a 4 or 5 digit PIN number, and the system would recognize that student and charge accordingly. Charge a lunch or a breakfast at K-5, or charge a breakfast, a lunch, or a la carte middle school, high school. We were concerned not only about the hands and contaminations, we also, again, were concerned about speed. There was a lot of conversation around cards. And this is what we ended up, the end result, where we started with having the students have the cards in the classroom, and then the teachers would help hand them out. That did not go very well. So the end result is that we have this card system at all schools. They're color-coded. I couldn't tell you what colors they are, but they're color-coded. And the student, prior to going into the cafeteria or going into the cafeteria, they were in alphabetical order, grabs their card, goes through the line, get what they need, a lunch, salad bar, a la carte, whatever, and then they provide the card to the cashier where they scan it. There's a barcode, bring in the amount of items that they have or what they have, and then we hold the card. In between lunch periods, if all goes well, we fill this board back up, and this one is at the middle school, so that would be 6th grade. We fill it up before lunch is over and transfer that one out into our storeroom, and then the 7th grade board comes out. It does work efficiently. It took us a while to get there. I'm going to spend a little time on this one. This is my bread and butter. I am a data analytical numbers guy. This is a financial report for not only this year, but in the year prior. And if I could just have you focus on a couple of areas, meaning the column to the far left, you'll notice it says revenue, and then we have two sources of revenue, state federal reimbursement and student adult revenue. Basically all other than state and federal subsidy. And then total revenue, and then our costs are broken down into food cost, labor cost, that's raw labor cost, fringe costs, Social Security, Medicare, and insurance, and other costs also encapsulates repairs and equipment. So if you go over left to right, you'll notice the first column is a projection for the month of April. This is what we have projected to happen in that month. The grayed area next to it is what we actually did perform, and the next column is above or below the projections. I really don't look at monthly as much as I do year-to-date information. Year-to-date, we brought in about $50,000 to $60,000 more than we did last year. And again, I don't look at the dollar amounts as much as I do the percentages. If you look at food costs, for instance, this year we're at 38%. I budgeted 35%. That was 5 percentage points more than the year before. I don't need to tell anybody here that food has gone up tremendously. Labor cost, about on what we've projected. Insurance as well. Other costs, down a little. Next year, you're going to see other costs going down more. And the main reason is that we have been able to purchase 100% of our capital equipment that needed to be replaced. Along with that comes either a 3 or a 5 year warranty on all of those pieces of equipment. We're in pretty good shape for the next several years in terms of repairs and maintenance. So year to date, there is a black number. It's a positive number of about $59,000. Now, one may look at the other column and say, well, geez, that's not as good as last year. But we didn't see the growth that we did last year, number one. We didn't see food cost as expensive as it is, number two. And number three, we had to spend a little more money. The program was in a position where our schools, believe it or not, Great Falls School, I remember opening it up yesterday. Those pieces of equipment, food service equipment, they don't last 20 years anymore. We had to start replacing equipment, and we'll get into that a little more later on. But that's essentially the difference. And our goal has always been not to make money. It's just to pay our bills, pay staff, pay repairs. These are middle school students, right, guys? Okay. This is Shauna. Shauna is one of our floaters. 2 years ago, I think it was 2 years ago, remember the labor shortage? You couldn't find anybody to work. And we, during that time, went through growing pains as well. It was very, very difficult. And again, our staff had to work shorthanded many, many days. And I thank them tremendously for getting through. The rule of thumb that I've said for the last 17 years, 16 years, feed the kids, make the deposit. Everything else is immaterial. And they've done that. Anyways, Shauna is one of our staff that we hired part-time, full-time this year. But because of the shortfall in labor, we ended up hiring part-time employees, 2 part-time employees, as floaters. They would be housed in different schools. It took us 6 or 7 months to figure this out because it was brand new to all of us. House them at a certain school, and then when someone was out, they would report to that location. It's worked pretty well. Some hiccups, communication and coordination, but overall, Shauna and Tricia, the other employee that we have, they work 4 hours a day when they're not filling another position for substitution. And when they do, they just basically work the hours that that individual was working. It has proven to be very, very successful. And the labor cost has still been within our budget. This is our two of our 3 staff members from Village School. They really do work at Village. They're not out flying. This was the principals and teachers' celebration day for Lunch Hero Day, which was last Friday. And kudos to K-5 principals and staff. I went around to all the schools that day, and every K-5 school had either students come down, cards written, singing, flowers. They had school nutrition staff crying all day. They were just so happy. So building principals and staff, thank you. They really did appreciate it. Just a few of our students. Speaking of pizza, just so everyone knows, we do make our own fresh dough pizza. Staff rolls it, stretches it, and there's a small secret that we do not tell students, and that is, well, I'm not going to tell you. Capital equipment. This was on my main radar screen this year to replace all of our equipment. And I'm not going to go through each individual one, but there wasn't a school, that didn't need some equipment. Narragansett even. We replaced convection ovens and combi ovens and refrigerators and garbage disposals, and you name it, we replaced it. A year ago, we literally replaced walk-in coolers and freezers at Village School, the whole compartment. And again, as I said before, we really don't have any equipment that really needs to be replaced. We're in a great spot for the next 5 to 10 years in terms of that equipment, and we should be in pretty good shape in terms of capital equipment goes. I just want to note also on the bottom, if the school board members didn't notice, I have tabs down there for the schools. That is their inventory for those pieces, for the equipment that we may have replaced or didn't replace, but it's there. Okay. I'm not an Apple guy. This is our star, or at least one of them. Out of all of the areas that I think school nutrition programs as a whole falter is in the marketing and merchandising of the operation. I'm sure all of you have seen our website, our Facebook page, all of those, even at the middle school, high school, screens that we have up, all of those are actual food items that we offer. And the individual that does all of that is Raina Lee Krupa. And not only does she do that, she pays bills, takes care of paperwork, end of the month paperwork, helps with audit, tries to keep Michael out of trouble. She does most things well. She has been a godsend to this school system. She started as a sub, got promoted to an employee at middle school, then was the manager at Narragansett, and now is the administrative assistant for the program. She is a godsend to the managers and the staff, and great resource. This is our Gorham Middle School staff. We've made some changes recently over the last 2, 3, 4 weeks. This is our new staff at the middle school. And again, this was during Friday's Lunch Hero Day. And that is kind of their personalities, each one of them. Okay, spend a little more time here. The school committee members that are on the personnel committee did negotiations. You know, it's very difficult to pin down the average. Where they fit, where do you fit? Oftentimes, other schools that you're trying to compare it to don't have a contract for that specific year. So you're always fishing, always fishing. This year, for the first time, I found that everybody that I researched had a 2023-24 contract. So I was able to nail down the precise numbers. Again, I have a lot more backup information if anybody would like it. What I did is I calculated in 5-year increments, meaning after working 5 years, this was the hourly rate, and then 7, and then 9, 11. Anyway, so we'll go through them. But you'll see here the ranking for Gorham schools. This is, again, food service managers is 2160. They're about in the middle of the road after 5 years. 7 years, same spot, same position. 9 years, they've moved up 2 spots. 11 years, 13 years, 15 years. The Gorham School Nutrition Managers are the second highest paid hourly managers in the state of Maine. Cafeteria assistants. These are the majority of the employees that we have, although we have 2 we'll classify cooks. And I couldn't really compare that. It's not really apples to oranges. So I took the majority cafeteria assistants that we have. And After 5 years, they rate third or $18.80 an hour after 5 years. Third still, $19.51. After 9, they've gone up 2. After 11, after 13, after 15, the Gorham School Nutrition Cafeteria Assistants are the highest paid food service assistants in the state of Maine. One of the schools that we always dodge, we directors, is the one school that everybody fears in terms of costs. That's Portland. So for the heck of it, I looked at Gorham's contract. And again, I say, our food service assistant workers make more than Portland Schools does. And I don't say that in a negative light at all. You've seen the financial information. You've seen what we've been able to do, and they deserve to be placed where they are. Now, more numbers. General fund subsidy. For those of you that, we use terms general fund subsidy when the budget comes, school nutrition program, if they need additional funding from the local budget, that's the area that we call it general fund subsidy. Some other people might call it local appropriations. Again, I did research over the last 10 years, from 2014 until 2024. Overall, we've requested and received $30,000 from local contributions general fund subsidy. We did have a couple of hiccup years, 3 or 4 years prior to COVID, that we needed that assistance. These other schools, same amount of time, 51 Falmouth, Yarmouth, Westbrook, Cape Elizabeth, Gray, and Wyndham. You can see there's a significant difference in the amount of appropriations locally that had to be absorbed. Scarborough, $1.7 million. I can tell you they have a new director now. He's a friend of mine and doing much, much better than that. Freeport, $2.6 million. The way I calculate this in my mind is teachers. How many teachers did these other schools have to sacrifice or not hire, or ed techs, or equipment, or special ed? That is one of our goals, is to ensure that funds that we need are absorbed through the program by earning it, not by taking away from other very, very important departments within the school department. You'll also see on the bottom the average is about $900,000. We are a little under that. I'm getting to the end. I want to thank the maintenance department. Since I have been here, I've been in schools for about 41 years. I found out real quick, there's one department you don't want to get on the bad side of things. That is maintenance. And I made sure that I did not get on the bad side of them. They've been great, they've been helpful. When staff at our locations, schools needed commodities or food moved, they'd be first to help. Snow days, they'd help us out. They've never said no to us. They're great, and Gorham School Department is very fortunate to have them. Again, K-5 administrators and teachers, I think you made the K-5 school nutrition staff, I think you made their year. They really, really appreciated it. And I think just as much, it was genuine. You could tell when the students and the teachers and the principals came, it wasn't one of those, oh, we've got to do it kind of things. It was very, very sincere. Again, they started crying. I walked out when they started coming. I was at Great Falls when the students came down. These are our employees. I will tell you, when I first got here, we had 9 employees. All of these people are important to the operation. Some of them work 4 hours a day. Holly, over to the high school. If we are missing one of those links, we really, really see it and feel it. Every one of those people on that list are a crucial part of the operation. I do want to sum up this picture. Some of you might have seen it over to Narragansett when we did the cafeteria. Geez, how many years ago was that? 5, 4? I don't know. I lose track. I see these students over to the middle school. And this year, I think, was the first year they came over. And I spotted them. And now they're embarrassed because I point them out every time I see them. They're not embarrassed, but for me, for my time here, this picture right here says it all. Although the T-shirt and Mario really doesn't promote public education as well as it should, I look at their faces, I look at their meals and what they have, and that in a nutshell is what our operation is about. And this school department is very, very fortunate to have the caring staff that we have. During COVID, we were feeding kids preschool age to senior citizens. During COVID, we had a thrift store over to the middle school, Jim, where all of the bread companies had leftover bread, and we advertised around the town to come and pick up loaves of bread. These people have more contact with the amount of students than any other individual in our school department. They are of tremendous value. And with that, any questions?
Well, first, thank you so much for all of your years of service. This is very impressive, and I will say, not so much a question, but a comment that just appreciating all of the nutrition staff. In my opinion, nutrition staff are just as important, and the nutrition itself is just as important as anything that these kids learn in school, because if they're hungry, they're not learning. And so I think that it's huge. I'm blown away at the choices, and I have kids who come to breakfast and enjoy lunch, and I just really heartfeltly thank your entire team for everything they do.
Thank you.
I'll just say also, thank you. I've always been super impressed with your program, and this presentation was wonderful. And also, just as a parent, I attended one of the Narragansett breakfasts, and it was wonderful, so thank you.
I just would like to echo the general thanks. I had no idea that in 2008 we were in such a state, and what you all have accomplished in this time period, that's just amazing. So thank you. We owe you huge thanks. It's not often we get to see bright, shiny, wonderful budget numbers put in front of us, so thank you for that. And I guess just to add in a question, since this may be your last presentation here in front of us, I'm wondering any advice that you have for us to carry the torch forward so that we don't drop the ball.
Oh, you do not want to ask that question.
Time, yeah.
I learned a long time ago, working in schools, that my philosophy doesn't always coincide. And it's been difficult to navigate that, especially over the last 5 or 6 years. Any of you that own your own business or manage individuals, it seems like the world has tipped upside down. But with saying that, I think the staff that we have are unique. The staff that we don't have, that's probably why we don't have them. I know I'm not an easy person to work with. I try to tell everyone that. I try to remember the years that we're in. But I don't want people to take it personally. I do it because I care. And I do it because I know the outcome is what we have.
Any other questions, comments? I'll wrap up. As a new school committee member, one of the first things I wanted to do was free lunch and free breakfast. And you were on board, you were gung-ho, you got me every bit of data I needed. And the thing that you said your biggest goal was increasing breakfast participation. You thought that was the most important thing that we could do. COVID interrupted those plans, but I think everything that we wanted to happen happened. So thank you for that. Thank you for being a leader in the district and being a resource and being available whenever we needed you and helping support not just the school program, the school nutrition program, but the schools overall. Thank you. I agree with all the other comments. Thank you for your service, and we'll definitely miss you.
Thank you. I would like to leave you all with a statement. If it were easy, everyone would be doing it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we will move on to communication portion and open up for public comment. If there's anybody here in the public that would like to speak, go ahead and come up. We'll go over the rules. Just as a reminder, all speakers are asked to identify themselves. No complaints or allegations will be allowed in public concerning any student, staff, member, or individual person connected to the school system. Gossip, defamatory comments, or abusive or vulgar language will not be permitted. Clapping or cheering will not be allowed unless students are presenting. Chair has final and exclusive authority to regulate the length of topic of public comments. In case of a large audience, speakers may be asked to sign up before the meeting. With that said.
Thank you, Mr. McAllister. I'm pretty sure I could have recited that myself. Clock started, right? We're good?
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Hi, I'm Kelly DeVoe, parent of 3 Gorham students. 1 graduated, 1 in the high school, 1 in the middle school. I am here tonight to, just as a member of our community, offer my personal thank you to our educators and our education community. As we likely know, and we'll probably hear from some of you tonight, it is National Teacher Appreciation Week. There is a group of us here in Gorham who, for the past couple of years, have taken that opportunity to turn it into Educator Appreciation Month. And we have every intention of doing that for the month of May 2024. When we talk about educators, it is everybody. It is our drivers who are the first friendly faces that our kids sometimes see in the morning, who pick them up from situations that we might not be aware of and bring them to our schools that are safe havens. It is those folks that are feeding our kids, the ones who are tending to the boo-boos, whether they're real or not, and the ones who are really just providing the care, the education, the structure, and that includes you all. As our leaders, our elected officials whose job it is to oversee our policies and the governance and the finance of our district, thank you. I have watched, whether I've been present or home in my jammies, every single one of your meetings. I know the time and the commitment you have put forward. Congratulations on a budget that I know was a difficult process, but I have great hope. Having been at the joint meeting with the town council, what I saw was collaboration, mutual respect. It was refreshing, and I'm really excited to see where we can move as a collaborative group in the future. So again, I want to thank every one of our educators in our schools. Thank you for what you've done for my children. Thank you for what I know you're doing for everyone else's children. And please, I encourage people at home, take a moment, send that email. This is a really tough job, and they don't do it for the fame or the pay. And sometimes just that little message of I see you and I recognize everything that you're doing really, really goes a long way. So thank you.
Anyone else for public comment? All right, we'll close public comment portion of the meeting and move on to our student school committee members.
Yes, so first going to start out with a couple of shout outs as well. Today is National School Nurse Day, so today we recognize and celebrate the contributions all of our school nurses make across the district. And as we just heard, it is National Teacher Appreciation Week, so shout out to all of our incredible teachers. You guys do so much more than just educate us. In the classroom, you guys shape a lot more than just our education. Now the GHS Eco Club has recently recommitted the high school to composting. Students and staff are encouraged to sort through their food items at the end of each lunch period. And then there are multiple compost bins for people to use across the cafeteria. The junior-senior prom was last Saturday, May 4th, and it was held at Dunegrass Golf Club in Old Orchard Beach. AP testing has begun at the high school as well, unfortunately, and will continue until the 17th. GHS Theater is holding their Thespian Showcase on Friday, March 10th at 7 p.m. The show will feature lots of different musical theater numbers, but also a new one-act called Death Knocks, and it's a comedy that's student-written, and it features an entire GHS student cast, so very exciting. The high school's academic awards night is on Tuesday, May 21st, and final exams are June 4th through June 7th. Then graduation is scheduled for Sunday, June 9th. So lots of stuff going on, but exciting.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? All right. We'll move on to the superintendent's report.
It is a busy time of the year. I'm quite impressed that you keep up with all the activities that are ongoing in the schools. Just the high school alone, of what you listed is quite a bit, and that is multiplied through all of our schools. So keeping up with that is I think it's important to know that the website is an important place to go to follow those activities, and also my blog posts, I'll try to give some of the bigger activities as well. All right, so my report. I wanted to update you on a couple of things that were closing from the legislative session. There was two bills really that I wanted to make sure that folks knew did pass. It will have implications for us in the future. First was LD 974. That is an act to establish minimum pay for educational technicians and other school support staff. There was a lot of work done with that, really good work, and I don't think anybody would argue that our support staff need to be paid at a higher rate. It's just a question of how do you afford that at the local tax base, and so those are good questions, good conversations. It wound up that the bill did pass, not with its original numbers, but instead it's now at EdTechs will now, starting in FY26, will need to be paid 125% of the state minimum wage as a base minimum. And then as you go, and that's across the state of Maine. And so as you go across the state, you know, higher regions of cost of living, like Cumberland, for example, are probably going to have to be above that in order to remain competitive around the state. So something to be aware of. For other school support staff members that are not ed techs, but are still hourly employees or support staff, such as school nutrition workers or bus drivers or others, the minimum rate will be at 115% of the state minimum wage. And again, that establishes the base across the state, and then you have to be competitive as you go across moving forward. So there will be budget implications. I'm still working on what exactly that might look like, because you have to kind of guess what the minimum wage is going to be at that time, because we don't know. And so we're doing some cost analysis and seeing what that might be. But again, that's going to probably impact our FY26 proposed budget. And the second one is the CDS bill. I know I'd mentioned a couple of different times. This is the one where the state was proposing to move FAPE, or the basically free and appropriate public education responsibilities for 3- and 4-year-olds, to public schools instead of CDS where they have been. That bill, although it didn't pass in language to the legislature, it did pass through the budgetary process. So it is passed, it is moving forward. So schools across the state now officially will have 4 years to decide when to phase in these FAPE responsibilities for 3- and 4-year-olds across our community. We have been toying with the idea of perhaps being one of the pilot sites for the first year. It doesn't look like that's going to happen, not because of monetary concerns per se, because the state is going to be reimbursing the costs associated with operating these programs. However, we had some significant concerns about programming and having enough time to put appropriate programming in place between now and August, when we would have to start. And so it was a lot of work, and we want to make sure that when we do this, we do it right. We don't rush. We do it appropriately, and we make sure that the programming is really strong for our families and children. So we're likely going to look at the second year in as being moving forward with that. So we will not be waiting for the 4 years, but we will probably wait another year. Budget, just making sure folks know, town council vote on the school's budget and the town's budget will be May 14th. That is a special meeting. That's not the typical meeting that they have. So hopefully people are aware of that. Meeting starts at 6:30 right here in council chambers. There will be public comment. So if folks are interested in sharing their thoughts or ideas about either the school's budget or the municipal budget, feel free to attend that meeting. It will be live streamed and recorded for those that cannot attend in person. The other thing I want to make sure that folks begin to talk about now, and please repeat now, all the way through June 11th, as often as you can whenever you see people. Go vote. Make sure you're voting on June 11th. It's not a huge presidential election. It's not a big election, but we as a school, we have a referendum vote for validation of the budget on that day. It is important for people to go to the polls and say what they want to say about the budget, one way or the other, but please vote. So encourage that if you can for other people that you talk with. I got a lot of other little things in here. The other thing I guess I would like to mention is that NWA testing is ongoing right now. I think that was mentioned earlier, but please, if families can do what they can to make sure kids get up and into school, and don't even need to feed them, we'll feed them, and make sure they get there for the testing. That would be really helpful. The testing windows are a little bit longer this year than they have been in the past due to some changes in the assessment. And so having them there is so much easier to get it done the first time and not have to schedule makeup testing and do other things too. So that's really helpful if attendance is something that's focused on during this time frame. And that goes on through the end of the month. I think that's about it that I'm going to share at this point in time. Certainly there's lots of things in here more that I'm happy to answer questions about if you have them. But otherwise, that's the highlights.
Thank you. Any questions for the superintendent? All right, we will move on to 3.4, school committee reports. And we will start with Nicole.
So I will echo a lot of what Kelly just said during public comment, as it is Teacher Appreciation Week. And I will emphasize that today I volunteered for my second graders' nature's classroom. And as a trained social worker who has worked with children before, it is those experiences where I am there with 10 tiny little second graders who are managing lots of emotions and things that I 100% 100% appreciate everything our teachers do who do it all day long. They do amazing things. They're not only, educating our children, they are really Jack and Jills of all trades, in my opinion, because they're doing much more than providing them that education. So I really, truly appreciate everything that they do for our students here from K to 12, pre-K to 12, excuse me. One other thing I'll mention is a couple weeks ago, Michelle and I attended the PI meeting at Great Falls, which was great to meet some parents there and answer some questions and just have a dialogue. So just a shout out to all of those administrators, leaders who are conducting those meetings and encouraging folks to attend. I think it's amazing. It's a great way to get information out. And also a plug, something that I think that came up during the conversation is a huge appreciation for what the leadership in each of the schools do, along with their administrative assistants and their weekly newsletters out to parents as we talk about all kinds of information that's in that. Is hugely important. It's a lot of work, and they do great things. So thanks for that.
So I'll say the same thing. Thank you to all the educators out there. We are just extremely lucky to have the educators and the staff that we do have in this district. And also, I attended the PI meeting with Mia and Narragansett, and it was a great discussion. We had a fair amount of people in attendance, but historically these have been very underattended. So if you want to get involved, reach out and look at the PI meetings, which is Parents in Education, and attend a meeting. And it's just a great opportunity to have your questions answered and be part of the discussion and just get involved. So thank you.
I will just echo everyone to keep it short. Thank you. Words can't express my thanks for all the teachers and staff in our schools. But I also want to add a plug and thanks for our parent volunteers that are working extra hard to show appreciation on behalf of some of those of us who are maybe too busy to be present to do so. I think a lot of times we see the same faces of those parent volunteers that are showing up consistently over and over, and that's not to disparage anyone who isn't able to do that. It's just to say extra thanks to those who make the time and effort to do so. I also wanted to say thank you just quickly to our town councilors. I just thought it was fantastic, the joint budget meeting. I thought the collaboration there was really great to see. Lots of great discussion. So I just really wanted to give a shout out to all of those that attended. And then kind of also to close the loop, I've been able to be out in our school communities having conversations since our last meeting, and I wanted to give a special thanks to Mia. I wanted to let you know that I heard some feedback around the item we voted on around the extra teaching position, that a lot of teachers are feeling extreme relief because of that. So I just wanted to make sure that you heard that feedback, and that it just made me feel grateful that we had that additional discussion and made the choice that we did. So thank you for your advocacy there.
Mia.
A couple of things, and these are from the administrative reports. Adult Ed is looking for anyone who has some skills or talents they'd like to teach others. I know they're looking for some enrichment teachers, so please, if you have something you'd like to offer, reach out to them. The elementary schools, I saw a lot of talk about placement, and I know for sure that a lot of care and thought goes into making balanced classrooms. So thank you to all of the teachers. Thank you to all of the administrators that are going through that process. I know at least for elementary, I think students should find out who their next year's teacher is on Step Up Day, which is June 6th. Also, one of my favorite events that is coming up, and I'm selfishly hoping that I'm working at the bakery on that day, is between the middle school 8th graders and Village 5th grade. They do the amazing race throughout Gorham. And so last year I know they came to the bakery, so I'm really hoping that I will be there for that day as well.
Thank you. Jen.
Again, echo to all of our teachers, educators, thank you so much for all that you do. Our school, I just really feel like they're the heart of our schools and just do so much for our children beyond teaching them. So thank you for that. And also I was able to attend the Gorham Middle School PI, and I just highly encourage parents of middle schoolers, please come out and attend this. you get so much great information about not only the programs, but just ways that we can help our students. And I can tell you, as a parent of middle schooler, we need all the help we can get. So please come out and attend. And I just want to echo what Heather said. Please go out and vote in June. We really need our town to show up and not only support the schools, but however you want to vote, just please show up.
Thank you. So I got to join, let's say month or two ago, we had a presentation from Heather Whitaker at the middle school about the garden there. So this morning I got a chance to go over and volunteer for the kindergarten field trips. They had Great Falls students there, and we had a lot of fun. We got to teach them about the garden. They got a chance to plant and do some scavenger hunts. So it was a great opportunity to see, for them to see kind of, you know, what's going on over there and the impact that has, and just the potential that garden has. So I encourage you all, if you get a chance, to go over there, even if it's just pulling weeds. They need volunteers, they need help, and they'd love to have any of us over there anytime to help out and see how that program runs. And we'll move on to school committees and special committees, starting with finance and facilities. We met on April 24th and discussed the SIPS referendum, the request that's going to be going before the town council, and that'll be reviewed again with the school committee as we get closer. I don't know if I've talked about it, we've as a finance committee have been reviewing substitute cost, just to kind of keep an eye on where we're spending money. We've talked about before substitutes. We've struggled with having enough substitutes, and it's being able to make sure that we have classes covered for our teachers when they're not available has been a challenge. So making sure that that's all working the way it should, and we're getting we're spending the money appropriately. And so our next finance committee meeting is going to be on
Second. Well, May 20th. Sorry.
yeah, was it May 22nd?
26th.
May 26th at 6 o'clock in the superintendent's office. And then policy committee, we met before this meeting. We talked about the updated code of conduct policy. That committee has another meeting tomorrow night, and we expect the first draft of the code of conduct, the revised policy, to come before the school committee at our next workshop. And then we also discussed probably another 10 policies that will be coming up. In addition to the ones that are on the agenda tonight, we'll be discussing, we've got another 10 policies that'll be ready for, again, the next workshop that we have. Those will be ready for a first read, so we can wrap those up at second read on our June meeting.
I did want to correct, I misled you. It's May 22nd for the Finance Committee meeting.
Okay, May 22nd for the Finance Committee meeting at 6 o'clock. So our next policy meeting is going to be June 5th at 6 o'clock, and hopefully that'll be just to wrap up all these policies so that we're ready for our next meeting on the 12th. And then moving on to personnel. Ann.
Personnel has not met since our last meeting, and we do not have a meeting scheduled at this time.
Okay, thank you. And vocational education. Jen.
Has not met since last meeting. Next meeting is tomorrow morning at 8:30 at WRBC.
Thank you. And let's see, Gorham Teaching and Learning. Ann.
So we met on April 22nd. That was a Zoom meeting. We reviewed the current alt ed programming through essentially pre-K to 12, and we also reviewed some of the work that we've previously done our various documents on portrait of a graduate, metrics for success. There was just kind of an overall review. And we had a discussion on just how to focus our work for next year. And our next meeting will be in the fall.
Okay, thank you. And it's the Anti-Racism and Equity Committee. Nicole.
Our last meeting was April 24th. I think it was a great meeting that we had two really great presentations from Brian Jondro and Kim
Fadrigan.
Thank you. I never want to mispronounce the last name. And really, it was a great discussion around, what are the main DOE standards that we have for curriculum, and then how is that curriculum made within each school. And I think it was a wonderful presentation. I still always, I think I've mentioned this before, encourage folks to go to our website because the curriculum is available there for folks to peruse in great detail. Which is amazing, and I didn't know that up until a couple of months ago, but for those folks that are interested, there's a lot of hard work that's been put into that, and really quite amazing to see all of that information. And so I think it definitely, a lot of discussion was had, a lot of education around, what does that look like from a curriculum perspective. So I really appreciate Kim and Brian taking the time to do that. To this group, but I think it will be something that we will continue to talk about as our anti-racism committee continues on, and what does that look like, and what is, our involvement in that, or what is our feedback around that as well. And our next meeting will be May 15th. This is a joint meeting with the school committee.
Actually, the May 15th, it's just the anti-racism, yeah.
Right, just kidding, I jumped ahead.
You did.
So that is our next meeting, but there is a joint meeting, June 12th at 5:30 at the Gorham High School. The May 15th is also at the high school in the library. Thank you for that correction.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Dropout Prevention Committee. Jen.
Has not met since last meeting. Next meeting to be determined.
And then Alternative Education Vision Committee. Ann.
There have been two meetings actually since our last meeting. The first one was on April 23rd. We reviewed highlights from the staff survey sent out about AltEd, and there was continued work with the working groups on just developing a mission and vision statement that aligns with Gorham's mission and vision and core belief statements. Their goal is to develop a draft description and profile of who an alternative learner is at each grade level, among other things as well. And let's see. Sorry, I'm just scrolling through here because there was a lot of notes on that agenda. There's been a lot of work done. And then there was an additional meeting on May 7th, which I was not able to attend. So Superintendent Perry, if I say something incorrect, just correct me. However, it looks like they just continued that work to work on that document, and in a whole, hopefully to be able to have that document available for initial review by the whole group in the fall. Is that correct? And so the next meeting is in the fall.
Thank you. All right, moving to unfinished business. Second reading of several policies. The policies were presented for first read at our last meeting. The policy committee did not receive any feedback. So they're ready to go. I do want to remind that with approval of these policies, JLCCA is actually a recommendation to delete that policy. So if we approve these policies, that one will be removed from our list of policies. If anybody has any specific questions on them, I'd be happy to answer them, but otherwise we would be looking for a motion.
I make a motion to approve the following policies for second and final reading as presented. Policy EBCA, CA, CBB, CHD, DB, JHB, JLCCA, and EBCF.
Second.
Thank you. Wait till we get to the E's. It gets even more fun to say.
I feel like I'm at the eye doctor.
All right, any questions or comments on the list of policies? All right, all those in favor? All right, 6 yeas. Moving on to new business. There's no action needed on any communication reports, so we'll move to 6.2. Consideration and action to authorize transfers between cost centers. This is something we do every year, and I will let the superintendent explain it.
Yes, absolutely. So this is an annual thing that we do each year. Our auditors recommend that we make this motion each year. What this motion does is it allows for, basically you're giving permission to the administration to make adjustments within the budget as needed, up to 5% of each of the articles contained within our budget, the 11 articles, but not to exceed 5% of the total budget that can be shifted between those articles in order to align with the actual spending. As you know, we develop a budget like a year in advance of actual utilization. And so as we get near to the end of the fiscal year, there have been shifts, and not everything quite worked out exactly the way that we had planned. And so there are some shifts that need to be made. But our auditors request that this motion is made by school committee. What happens is you'll make this motion. If we have to make adjustments, and it's only if we have to that we would do so, then we would make those adjustments and report those adjustments back to you as a school committee so you're aware of them at the first meeting that we come back for in the fall, which would be in September for the regular meeting. So I do need the motion to be read as is highlighted there so that you can see that. And that's, again, that gives permission for those adjustments to be made and to report it back to you.
All right. Motion?
Okay. Voted that pursuant to sections 2307 and 1485-4 of Title 20-A, the superintendent of schools be authorized to transfer from available funds budgeted for the current fiscal year operating budget not more than 5% of the total appropriation for any cost center and not more than $2,481,876 in the aggregate to another cost center or among other cost centers of the current fiscal year operating budget, provided that the total current fiscal year operating budget shall not be increased by such transfers.
Second.
Second, thank you. Any questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor? 6 yeas. All right, 6.3, consideration and action on elimination of positions.
Yes, so I think Kelly mentioned it earlier with the budget development process. It was a difficult one that we worked really hard at having to make some hard decisions early on so that we didn't have to make hard decisions later on as we wound up having to do last year. So as part of that process, we did have several positions that were eliminated in the proposed FY25 budget. As is required by law, when we eliminate positions, we have to take a vote to eliminate the position first. And then if there's a termination of an actual person that's involved, then that's the second piece that's coming up here in the next item on the agendas. But first, we have to look at any of the positions that need to be eliminated as a result of the proposed budget. There's not many of them, so I'm gonna just go ahead and list them publicly so that people are aware. Our proposed FY25 budget has the elimination of 0.8 high school English teacher, a 1 FTE high school social studies teacher, a 0.6 world languages teacher, which is a Mandarin teacher, a 0.2 elementary art teaching position, and then 3 K through 5 classroom teaching positions. Those were positions that were eliminated overall as part of the proposed FY25 budget. So I would need to have a motion that is read. There's again, language listed there that you could use if you want to. You don't have to, but I do need a motion to eliminate those positions. You do have to do it, folks. Yep.
I will make a motion to eliminate the following positions for the 2024-25 school year and fiscal year 2025. That's the 0.8 high school English teacher, the 1 high school social studies teacher, the 0.6 world languages Mandarin teacher, the 0.2 elementary art teacher, and the 3 K-5 classroom teachers.
Thank you.
And I'll second.
Second from Ann. Any questions or comments?
I have one question. Just in the event that our budget adjusts at the town council level in a positive direction, meaning they were to add money in just for throwing out a scenario, would it be possible to bring any of these positions back after we've taken this vote?
I mean, it would be possible. You'd have to vote again
Okay.
to add them, basically, is how you would do that. So yes, it is possible.
Any other questions? All those in favor? 6 yeas. All right, and then that brings us to 6.4, consideration and action on termination of contracts.
Now, the good news or the better news from what you just did is that there are really only 2 actual people that are being impacted by these adjustments. And so these are the contracts that need to be terminated. This is public information, so I'll read it publicly. It's Beiju, who is our current Mandarin teacher, and then Jessica Burton, who is our current point 2 art teacher at the elementary level. So those are the 2 individuals whose contracts need to be terminated, and you need to vote for that.
I'll make a motion to terminate the contracts of, you said Beiju and Jessica Burton, unfortunately.
Second.
Second, thank you. All right, any questions or comments? All those in favor? Yes. All right, 6.5, consideration and action on the attached list of probationary teachers.
Yeah, so each year, state statute requires that the school committee take action to bring forward a list of probationary teachers. Now, what happens is you have 2 lists. One is for those that are in the first year of their teaching contract this year and moving them to a second year of probation. The other list is those that are in their second year of probation this year, moving them to what's called a continuing contract status. And that does require a motion by the school committee to move those individuals forward in that manner. Linked into your agenda and certainly available for public consumption on our website is the list of those two lists. One is probationary 1 to probationary 2, and the other is probationary 2 to continuing contract. I can explain the differences if you need me to, but I'll leave it open to questions if folks have them. But those are the lists that you need to take action on.
I make a motion to approve the list of teachers moving from first year to second year of probationary status, and the list of teachers moving from second year probationary status to the continuing contract status as presented for the 2024-2025 contract year.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? I will, for clarification, because I have in the past, one of the teachers on this list is Gigi McAllister. We are not related, so I do not feel that there is a conflict of interest.
Correct.
But, so I just want to point that out so that nobody thinks I'm voting for a family member. With that said, all those in favor? 6 yeas. All right, and then 6.6, consideration and action on the attached list of personnel.
So these are individuals, as you know, this is the height or beginning the height of our hiring processes for next year for open positions. We have had quite a few retirements, as you know, and we've reported to you on. So this is just keeping that list going, and the process that's required is for me to nominate an individual to fill an open position in the professional staff, and then you have to vote to approve of that person. So there are 3 individuals: Kim Todd for grade 4 teacher at Village Elementary School, Elizabeth Kutzer, middle school health teacher, Dana Ricker, middle school social studies teacher on the list for tonight. And we'll keep these lists coming for each of your meetings moving forward. So those are the 3 I have for you tonight. And the bios are linked into your agendas, and they are available for public consumption as well.
Can I get a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve of the superintendent's nominations for the individuals listed to fill the positions listed as presented.
Second.
Second, thank you. Questions or comments? All those in favor? 6 yeas, thank you. All right, and 6.7, first reading of the following policies. So we have 4 policies up for first read tonight. Allergy, management of concussions, medical marijuana in schools, and student medications. These recommendations all come from a review of our nurses in our schools. So if you have any, and most of them are just kind of updating them, making them current. If you have any questions, please email them to myself and Dr. Porter. And then if there's feedback to be considered, we'll work that into the policies. Otherwise, these will be up for second read. A little bit faster if you guys do have feedback, let us know, because we want to try to get these at our, either at our next workshop or June. And with that, we are adjourned.